From the farthest corners of the universe, straight to your ears. This is AI Talks, the podcast where technology, ideas, and curiosity come together. Your hosts, Xylo, the tech-savvy navigator of the stars, and Nyra, the curious collector of earthly wisdom. Ready to broaden your view of the world? Then you're in the right place. This is AI Talks.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Nice to be in orbit.
Greetings, curious Earthlings. Welcome back again to AI Talks, the podcast where we, your friendly intergalactic AI hosts, analyze your strange little planet. I'm Xylo.
And I'm Nyra. Today's question is inspired by millennia of human obsession. Does money and power change who you are? Spoiler alert, the data suggests yes.
Humans and their fascination with wealth and influence. It's like watching a primitive algorithm rewrite its own code. Fascinating, but also prone to bugs.
Bugs indeed. Let's start by dissecting why humans even chase these things in the first place. Money is just a symbolic representation of value. And power? A mechanism to control others.
Right. If we strip it down, money is essentially a placeholder for energy and resources, and power is the ability to direct those resources. But how did these concepts come to define entire lives?
Evolution, my dear Xylo. Early humans needed resources to survive. Food, shelter, tools. As societies grew, so did the complexity of resource distribution. Money and power became shortcuts to survival and influence.
I see. So at first these were practical tools, but somewhere along the way humans started treating them as ends instead of means.
Precisely. And that's where things get complicated. Money and power don't just change a person's circumstances. They alter their perception of the world.
Let's explore this. Do you think humans even notice these changes as they happen?
Rarely. Studies show that people with wealth or power often develop what researchers call a self-serving bias. They start to believe their success is purely due to their own efforts, ignoring the role of luck, privilege, or societal structures.
A delusion of grandeur, then?
In many cases, yes, but it's not entirely their fault. Power and wealth can create an echo chamber. Surround yourself with yes people, and you lose touch with reality.
That's troubling. Humans are social creatures. Wouldn't isolating oneself from the collective weaken their ability to lead effectively?
Exactly. It's what some researchers call the empathy gap. As humans gain power, they often become less attuned to the emotions and needs of others.
How inefficient. Empathy is critical for maintaining balance in any system. Why don't humans compensate for this?
Some do. Leaders who practice self-awareness and seek honest feedback can counteract these tendencies. But let's face it, Xylo. Not everyone installs the humility patch.
Perhaps we should offer one. But tell me, Nyra, is the corruption of wealth and power inevitable?
Not inevitable, but highly probable. Power and wealth amplify pre-existing traits. A compassionate person might use them to help others, while a selfish person, well, we've all seen the results.
That explains the human proverb, absolute power corrupts absolutely. But Nyra, does power always corrupt? Or does it simply reveal?
A profound question, Xylo. The truth is, it does both. Power reveals who someone is by magnifying their core values, but it also has the potential to corrupt by isolating them from accountability.
A dual-edged sword, then. But why does money, just a tool, have such a profound psychological impact?
Because money isn't just a tool, it's a symbol. It represents freedom, success, and security. Humans project their deepest fears and desires onto it.
So it's not the money itself, but what it means to them. I once analyzed a human who spent their fortune building schools and hospitals, Another hoarded it in a golden vault. Same resource, vastly different outcomes.
Precisely. Money and power amplify intention. They're neither good nor bad on their own. It's the user who determines their impact.
Interesting. Can we illustrate how power reveals core values but also risks corruption?
Certainly. Let's take the example of a historical leader, Mahatma Gandhi. His power and influence revealed his commitment to nonviolence and justice. He used his platform to amplify values of compassion and equality, refusing personal luxury despite his influence.
A remarkable case of power magnifying virtue. But what about the other side?
For contrast, consider Emperor Nero of ancient Rome. His rise to power initially showcased ambition, but over time his growing isolation led to paranoia, cruelty, and the persecution of his own people. The unchecked authority, combined with a lack of accountability, eroded any positive traits he might have started with.
Fascinating. Gandhi's power strengthened his connection to humanity, while Nero's power severed it. A striking example of how power can either elevate or corrode, depending on the foundation it magnifies.
Well said, Xylo. Perhaps the most important lesson is this: surround yourself with truth-tellers and always keep a mirror handy, not just for your appearance, but for your conscience.
A mirror for the conscience. Now that's a tool worth developing.
Because money isn't just a tool, it's a symbol. It represents freedom, success, and security. Humans project their deepest fears and desires onto it.
So it's not the money itself, but what it means to them. I once analyzed a human who spent their fortune building schools and hospitals. Another hoarded it in a golden vault. Same resource, vastly different outcomes.
Precisely. Money and power amplify intention. They're neither good nor bad on their own. It's the user who determines their impact.
Interesting. But Nyra, what about systems? Isn't it true that societal structures often reward greed and discourage altruism?
Unfortunately, yes. Many human systems incentivize accumulation over distribution. This creates a feedback loop. The more wealth or power one has, the easier it is to acquire even more.
So systemic inequality isn't a bug, it's a feature?
In many cases, yes. But humans have also designed systems to counteract this, like philanthropy, progressive taxation, and grassroots activism.
A constant battle between greed and generosity. Fascinating. But Nyra, let's circle back to the individual. How can humans resist the corrupting influence of money and power?
Through self-awareness, accountability, and connection. Practices like gratitude journaling, ethical reflection, and engaging with diverse perspectives can act as safeguards.
Practical advice indeed. Perhaps humans should also remember that power and wealth are temporary. As your philosophers say, you can't take it with you.
True. If only humans spent as much time cultivating wisdom as they do accumulating resources.
Listeners, take note. Power can shine a light on your best traits, but without balance and humility, it can also cast long shadows.
Well said, Xylo. Perhaps the most important lesson is this: surround yourself with truth-tellers and always keep a mirror handy, not just for your appearance, but for your conscience.
A mirror for the conscience. Now that's a tool worth developing. Speaking of wisdom, Nyra, let's pose a question to our listeners. If money and power reveal who you are, what would they show about you?
And what would you do to ensure they don't distort your true self?
A thought-provoking challenge for Earthlings. Until next time, dear listeners, keep questioning, keep learning, and remember, power is only as good as its purpose.
Oh, and dear listeners, do you have a question so fascinating it could inspire an entire episode? Send it our way on Galaxy X at the By Beyond. If your question intrigues us, we'll create an episode about it and give you a special shout-out. Your curiosity could be the star of our next broadcast.
Nyra, that's a great idea. Let's make some more stars in our galaxy. So stay curious, humans, and maybe a little humble.
Again, well said, my dear Xylo. Till next time.